All right, guys, we're back again. COVID Cabal, September 22nd. Happy Equinox, everybody. Happy Equinox. It's fall. It's fall. It's harvest time. It's harvest time. We're going to see what kind of crazy shit happens on the horizon. You guys know, old school COVID Cabal people know harvest time is when the crazy shit happens. So, as usual, if you are here, leave a comment in the chat. If you're here leaving a comment in the chat, I want to see who's here. Who is here? Who is watching COVID Cabal? If you're here, drop a comment in the chat right now. I gotta move this over here. That sun is going to be annoying for people to watch. If you're here, leave a comment in the chat. Drop a comment in the chat right now. Drop it. I'm not fucking kidding. Drop a comment in the chat. Let's go. Let's get this going. Bless up. Bless up, Elvis. Bless up. We got a Chardonnay from Lodi, California today, and it's all right. It's all right. It's sufficient. Not smooth. It's not smooth. I'm gonna tell you that. It's not smooth. I'm not gonna complain here, but I'm not gonna ever get it again. I'm not gonna get it again. Romeo, what's going on, man? All right. Buttery taste. No, actually, not really much malolactic going on here. It's just, look, California has really good high-end wines. And this isn't like a low-end wine, but it's just their wines have too much alcohol. Like, this isn't even like a super high alcohol content wine. Like, it's 12.9%. But it's just, there's not enough acid. There's not enough acidity. So, not enough acidity. It just doesn't. I prefer higher acid wines. It's just whatever. Yep, it's good stuff. He's talking about the conspiracy we were talking about with the real Cabal conspiracy, which I'll make a quick comment about. Like, comment, and subscribe if you are here. Old school COVID Cabana. What? There's a water ice place called Cabana. Old school COVID Cabal fan here. It's good to see you, Victor. It's good to see you. All right, guys, let's get going with the show. Let's get going with this. So, I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go into detail into this conspiracy, except to add, because I don't want to do it every single show. We got other stuff to cover. We only got like 35 minutes, 40 minutes for these COVID cabals. So it is this conspiracy that they want to bring about the Antichrist by having the entire world hate Israel and having Israel all together against the entire world. That's the theory. Okay. I'm just going to make one little comment that's interesting. Something I noticed today. And what I noticed today, I noticed that this dispensationalist evangelical Christianity is basically the same thing. Isn't that interesting? The Scofield Bible, a mistranslation of the Bible, gets its way into America, spreads all over evangelical America somehow, telling them that they need to, that Jesus will come back again when the Jews are in Israel and when the and when the world is fighting against Israel. So in order to bring back Jesus, they need to support Israel. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Anyway, I'll just leave that there. No coincidences, guys. And yes, it is one of those things that's very like schizo, but then it actually makes sense, and I have no problem reconciling the world all of a sudden, which means that it's certainly directionally correct. And you guys, I'll just say this last thing. The reason it's important to know this stuff is not because you can just like beat your dick off to all sorts of conspiracy theories and collect them. It's because it helps to prepare you. Okay. If you know what they're trying to accomplish, then you know how to resist it. And you also know how to not fry your mind. So that's why this stuff is important. So, all right, guys. Today, the main topic of conversation is going to be about forgiveness and just closing thoughts on Charlie Kirk assassination and stuff. I want to say I listened to some of Tom Longo stuff. I didn't watch all of it. He had some good material in there as usual. You know, I'm a big fan of Tom, what he puts out. I don't agree with him on everything. Okay, I don't agree with him on everything. I think he's a little bit too flippant. I think he's off base with like Trump and Netanyahu working together in anything besides for a frenemies dynamic. I see no love between the two of them, first off. And second off, Netanyahu is truly an evil piece of shit. I mean, he is. I don't know how that's very disputable. Okay. Their energies are extraordinarily different. So they may be using each other, which is what I think is going on, for their own, you know, separate purposes. And it's maybe a very tense dynamic. But I don't see, you know, a lot of clear evidence that, you know, yeah, we're all like buddy buddy now. And I also think a lot of that stuff, I think he's onto something with like the whole, so basically what he's saying is that Israel is working with Trump because Britain burned the asset. I think it gets a little too complicated because they're two sides of the same coin, basically. And I don't think that he'd have much dispute with what I'm saying. You know, Israel is working with the United States for goals, but they don't have the same goals. They're using each other to varying extents right now, and it is there's no trust and there's no love between them. And you can see that it's a very tenuous dynamic. Now, what does this have to do with a lot of the assassination? This is the one thing I will say about the assassination. Okay? So again, when you have to make analysis, you have to have a certain set of assumptions. Our assumption at COVID Cabal is that Trump, in his inner circle, are all good people. And they are all trying to save America, and they are all fighting against the cabal. Okay? We can define the inner circle very, very clearly as Trump, Trump, Vance, Miller, Kirk was one of them, Hegseth, Gabbard, I think Cash, some may not, but you get the idea. There's a very core inner circle of people. It's kind of indisputable that they are, you know, these are all RFK. Looks like Elon Musk and Trump back together, which, by the way, guys, by the way, was that not pretty much on point, my analysis of Elon Musk and Donald Trump? I mean, you had like the Q people were going off deep end saying it was all coordinated, it was all kayfabe. I never believed that for a second. It was a personality thing, right? They bromance too hard. There was a misunderstanding. It was a big crash out, and now they're back together because they have the same group of friends. They were always going to get closer again. It will never be quite as close as it was before, and that's a good thing because that was an unhealthy level for two people who are so unhealthy and unsustainable for two people who are too powerful. They should be two men working together, and they should understand each other's separate agendas, and they should be mature and responsible about it. There shouldn't be this like, you know, idealization, which I think Elon is more had than Trump. I think Trump was like happy to have Elon idolizing him, and then Elon, because you know people have said Elon maybe has BPD himself. I mean, he certainly doesn't have very healthy or stable relationships. So that's a good thing. That's another good thing that came out of Charlie's death. There's a lot of good that came out of Charlie's death, and so I do want to get into the forgiveness thing, but I just want to clear up some stuff with the assassination itself and what's important. Tom Luongo is completely correct. One of the things he said in yesterday's show, he said basically, stop talking about who killed Charlie because it doesn't matter and it's a distraction from us going after the left and dismantling them. And it's a psyop to suck away our focus and to sow doubt. I agree with him in a lot of ways. I agree with him in that it is certainly distracting a large part of the truth community. And, as I said the other week, like, conspiracy community is kind of, lost the plot. What is the point? In 2020, when we were learning about these things, when everybody was like conspiracy brained, we were learning about it because we were trying to dismantle the narrative, trying to dismantle reality. We were trying to figure out, okay, wait, they're lying to us about this stuff. COVID's not, it's fake. This is their agenda. Since then, they can't control the narrative anymore. So what they do, they can't control the narrative with a single narrative. So what they can do is they can make you doubt everything. They can make you not be unable to focus on anything. And they can make trying to figure out these rabbit holes the entire be all end all of your entire, existence as somebody who is supposed to be fighting against them. It really doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned, because I don't think that the story adds up, by the way. I don't think the story adds up with Charlie, the assassination. I don't know what happened. I don't know if there's another shooter. There's a very interesting theory. I don't have the whole thread here. You can look it up, okay? This is John Bray. It says, based solely on my analysis of the two angles of the events on September 10th, I have come to the conclusion that this is the object that struck Charlie Kirk in the neck. This is Charlie Kirk's microphone. Okay, magnetic. It's a magnetic. This is the battery in his microphone. So they're basically claiming, this guy is claiming, and it's actually a very interesting thread, gives you some food for thought. Actually reflects a little bit more what you saw, because here's one of those things. When you see the shooting, you're like, what it looks like is his mic goes into his neck. Now people are like, oh, it just, flew off or whatever. And that was a shirt. It was the bullet hitting the body armor and ricocheting. But actually your eyes kind of make it seem like it just shot right across up into his neck, right? And that would also, that they could have replaced the battery with a battery that had 75% in plastic explosive in it. That's basically what this is claiming. So it wasn't even a bullet that killed him. The bullet could trigger a sonic shock that would send this thing out. Guys, it sounds crazy, but bottom line is there's so many ways that you could kill people, right? The CIA had heart attack machines. There's a lot of different ways you can kill people. And there's stuff with the, Tyler Robinson that just simply do not make sense. Now, here's the only question I have. Okay. Why do they not make sense? Do they not make sense because there is no sense to be made of it, that they created too many different parallel psyops and distractions? Or do they not make sense because they don't want us to find out the truth about it? And why don't they want us to find the truth about it? So we proceed from the assumption that Trump and his team are good guys. We proceed from the assumption that Cash, even if he's not as competent as he should be, right, that he's also well-intentioned, which I fully stand by. What we're saying, Bull Density, what doesn't make sense is the official narrative of the shooting, that Tyler Robinson, and what you're asking, what doesn't make sense about it? Just simply like how he got the gun up there, how it was disassembled. There's holes in the storyline. But the question is, are there holes? Are there inconsistencies in the storyline? Because, they may know what it is, but do they just not want to tell us yet for various reasons, for their own intelligence operation reasons? This is a really hard thing for people to accept, because we are in this state of mind where if we don't get all of the information that we want, if they don't give us everything that we want, then that means that since we're being lied to, that means that they're trying to go after us and it's malicious. But people, government figures lie, not always for malicious reasons. And I understand, oh, you're just being a cuck to authority, whatever. No, I trust Trump. It's obvious that everybody in the Trump administration, because they're taking literally policy suggestions from X, they know that there is huge mistrust about the official story. So why are they sticking to the official story? Are they doing it because it gives them the ability to crack down on the left? Do they not want to muddy the waters because they want the pretense to go after Antifa, to unravel this stuff? It doesn't matter, because whether Tyler Robinson pulled the trigger or not, he is still nevertheless part of a network, and the network is hostile to America, and the network is financed and backed by the same people, even if they're on the other side of the coin as the Zionists. Doesn't matter. These are all people who want, in the end of the day, they want to dominate us or destroy us, right? And both, right? It's the same thing at the end of the day. So I don't really care as much anymore. I don't really care as much anymore. So, and yeah, it could be just that it's a very simple story and that there's all the psyop stuff going on just to make you doubt. I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That is, and Tom is right about that. It really doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter, because we already know who the enemy is. Like at the time of JFK's assassination, I think it mattered a lot more. Right now, the point is that there are multiple different angles. There's multiple different ways to psyop and confuse. There's AI videos. And I joked about this on Twitter, but I'm just sorry. I also just don't trust. I'm gonna tell you what I don't trust. All right. I don't trust some random like military sniper all of a sudden blowing up saying, so I've been shooting for years, and I don't see this, I don't understand this, I don't, whatever, some stupid fucking video. Sometimes they're interesting videos, okay, but it's out the woodworks every single time. You have some random like commentary from some random person who we've never heard of before, and we don't really like what. Anyway, bottom line is this: doesn't matter. We got to crack down on the left, and that's where we should be focusing. I'm not saying that we don't still say we don't believe the story. I'm not saying that. There's a difference between acknowledging that the story is not maybe completely clear and going off the deep end, making it your full focus. Okay? I am at the point where I don't believe the story. It doesn't mean anything to me, because if Tyler Robinson's a patsy, he's part of the same network that did the whole thing anyway. He's not. We know he's not. He didn't do this on his own. Just like we know Crooks didn't do it on his own with Trump. We know there's the same group behind this stuff. We know it. And whatever, and that group has multiple different ways of trying to deflect from it, including making you, schizo about all this stuff. I will say one. What is the last thing I want to say here on this? I don't even know if I see it in my screenshots here. Well, it doesn't really matter that much. Maybe it'll turn up. Maybe I'll see it more. I want to talk about the forgiveness stuff, because the forgiveness stuff is really, really important. The forgiveness stuff is really, really important. And hold on though. I got some comments here. Totally trust Trump and Cash. There's no Epstein list. Oy vey, stupid goy. Believe your president. I mean, yeah, I believe him. I believe his intent. I don't believe that he tells me the truth all the time. There's a difference. Trump operates very, very much on strategic deception. But like I've said on many shows, if you don't believe that Trump is working in the best interest of America, go ahead. You're in the wrong show. Go ahead and grope around and just complain all day long about stuff. Meanwhile, we're actually fixing the country. Meanwhile, we're actually turning things around. But just go be a doomer and say Israel controls everything and you're all cucks to Israel. And I don't know what you're doing about it. I don't know what you're accomplishing. See, this is like psyop stuff. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's just demoralization. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to demoralize. And don't think for a second that the communists don't do that stuff. I have been very critical of Israel. I'm aware of the Israeli lobbies, focus, and I know that all of Congress is captured by it. But it's also obvious that Trump and Congress are adversarial. They work together, but Trump does not own Congress. It's not rubber stamped, unlike what it was with Biden in the left. So that tells you that you are dealing with a different faction. It's obvious that you're dealing with a different faction. Do you think we'll find out who this group is? It is between there. I have brought it down bottom line to two main groups in America, or let's say the West. Okay. You have the Zionist neocons and you have the Davosian neoliberal communist left, right? The Zionists are more Trotskyite. These are distinctions of communism, basically. I described this on the last show. They are two sides of the same coin, and if you believe this eschatology that they are trying to bring about the end times, they are working in the two opposite directions to bring about these end time scenario. That's what they're doing by having one group make Israel all powerful and make all the Jews and have to support Israel, have this little pro-Israel group, and then to have the rest of the world against them. And that creates the conditions for the Antichrist. That is the cabal theory. And when you view it like that, everything makes sense. So let's talk about forgiveness, though. Forgiveness is very important. This is something that people don't understand. When I say people don't understand it, I'm not just saying that like non-Christians don't understand it, which they don't. But also I think a lot of Christians don't understand it. And the fact that both of them don't understand it is why there's so much misunderstanding. Okay? Because when it is actually understood very well, it's extremely powerful and extremely effective. Okay? So this is what I said. People were complaining because Erika forgave the shooter. I understand why they were complaining. I don't have a lot of issue with people. I think they're wrong. But that's not like the big issue here. Okay? Erika was right to do what she did. It was the Christian thing to do, but I'm not here to tell you that's like, oh, well, okay, now you're a good person because you did that. Because that's moralizing. What she did was very, very powerful, but it was especially powerful in the context of the entire night. In the entire night, you had man after man talking about how they were going to respond and retaliate and how justice was going to get served. You even had Trump after Erika say how Charlie was a better man than him, basically, because he doesn't want good things for his enemies. He wants to see them suffer. And he's going to basically do that. Okay. But Erika, as the wife, with the personal connection, she forgave Tyler on a personal level. And that is what Christianity and forgiveness really is. I want to explain something about this, okay? Forgiveness does not mean being a cuck. It does not mean that. It doesn't mean that. People don't understand that because a lot of Christians actually do behave like that. They continually put themselves out around bad faith people who take advantage of them. They say, well, I forgive them for what they did to me. And that just makes you a sucker. It makes you a fucking idiot. And there is nothing whatsoever good or Christian about that. It's like, would Jesus continually go and get beaten and robbed over and over again by random people? He went, and what he did with the crucifixion had a very, very specific intent. Okay? And he knew it was all going to happen. But going around and being some sort of sob that just constantly gets taken advantage of is not the point. Jesus rebuked people constantly. He rebuked people constantly. And I will say this also. Jesus, when he was crucified because he spoke the truth and he refused to not tell the truth. Okay? Most Christians are just like, well, I'm not going to stop bad people. It comes from a position of weakness. I'm going to see. Was this the one? Yeah. This was amazing by Uber Boyo. Amazing, amazing. See, I didn't know that Nietzsche said this. Nietzsche called forgiveness a master trait when done from a position of power, but a slave trait when you cannot take vengeance. Vengeance is a deeply human emotion, but it is monstrous in its need. People say modern painless executions feel hollow and offer little catharsis. Medieval Europeans knew how to punish. They would tear off people's skin and rip out their intestines in front of a crowd. Vengeance needs to see someone butchered. Sometimes this demand can be too heavy. It turns you into a monster. Sometimes you wish to let go and forget. Blessed are the forgetful. The worry, of course, is that letting go is an incapacity to punish, an incapacity to do justice, to set things right. Christianity's purpose is to expose this urge to punish within you by making God himself the target of your monstrous vengeance. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay? It has nothing to do with justice. It has nothing to do with boundaries. These are not precluded by forgiveness. Forgiveness is a personal act to remove from you the burden of being connected to this person's energy. It's a really great comment from Clint. This is one of the most powerful speeches I've ever witnessed from a private citizen. The forgiveness she has given the accused shooter is between the two of them and has nothing to do with justice administered by the state. Her forgiveness to him absolves her of hating her enemy, which keeps her soul spiritually clean. Forgiveness doesn't justify the action, and it does not include reconciliation. Erika demonstrated courage and demonstrated her commitment to live by spiritual principles, and she will be an inspiration to millions of people. Okay. I forgive. I have long forgiven the judges and the prosecutors who turned me in or who treated me horribly. I have forgiven the people who turned me in. I have even forgiven Jimmy Kimmel, who is just a piece of shit. He's just a piece of shit. I mean, how am I supposed to be angry about that? He's just a piece of shit. Okay. A lot of people don't understand this. And this point that Clint just made about keeping yourself spiritually clean is so like you're like Brad, like this stuff is like it's just pathetic. Like it's just pathetic. Like we're having a sophisticated conversation here. If you wanna, get out, then get out. This is what it's about, is not just going and forgiving everybody and doing nothing. That's the whole point. Those people are cucks. You do it for yourself to keep your soul clean. I forgive those people. Have I ever once said that I don't want consequences for those people? Have I ever once said that they're not going to get consequences, that I would try to stand in the way of them having consequences? I know who the family member is, by the way, because the FBI didn't blank him out. But I never told that part of the family because they weren't responsible for it and it would have caused them enormous pain. That was a difficult decision because I thought about doing it many times. I'm happy I didn't, because what you start to see, and this is one of the big points from a spiritual perspective, what you start to see is that the consequences of people's karma destroys them. I have seen this over and over again. Jimmy Kimmel, I didn't have to try to seek vengeance against Jimmy Kimmel because Jimmy Kimmel destroyed himself. He's a terrible person. He destroyed himself. When you forgive somebody, you don't get in the way of their justice. What you do is you stop making it a personal matter for yourself. Okay. One of the books I read in prison, unsurprisingly, is called The Count of Monte Cristo classic story about a classic story about classic story about a man on a looking for revenge, right? Who's been very much wronged, looking for revenge. And he plans the perfect revenge. It's like 20-year process of planning the perfect revenge of the people who put him in prison for something he didn't do, took his woman, ruined his life, basically. And everybody loves that portion, but like a lot of, literature, people don't understand that they forget the ending, right? They're all like, yeah, he's getting his revenge. No, it's amazing. It is amazing. And as he's getting the revenge, spoiler alert, it starts to ruin him because he was so good at getting the revenge. The destruction he was causing in people's lives was like beyond anything he could possibly imagine. And Edmond Dantes dials it back at the end. He actually gives mercy to one of the people. It doesn't mean that he doesn't punish them, but he understands a level of proportionality because he kept his soul. That's the whole point. If he had continued to punish them, you destroy yourself in the process. That is one of the things that evil feeds off of. Okay? This is a message that is not grasped. Evil feeds off of your hate. When we talked the other week about how you just can't hate Jews, you just can't, everything that Israel's doing, all the conspiracy, all the stuff, it's true, right? You still cannot let yourself fall into hate. That doesn't mean that you have to encourage. That doesn't mean that you have to go along with it. That doesn't mean that you just have to be some like cuck for Israel or whatever. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. It just means you cannot let it twist you into hate. I have seen a lot of people who this cabal has done so many terrible things that they have become absolutely hateful. And I look at them and I can't even really talk. I mean, I can't even talk to some of them. It's like, you are not able to think about anything else. You just hate, you just hate, you just hate. It's all you do. And that is exactly where the devil wants you, because then you can do terrible things. All of a sudden, you start doing terrible things. You think that you're justified in doing it. We forgive for ourselves. Everybody who I have met, I'm serious about this. Everyone who I have met who has been seriously wronged and who hates forgiveness has become a terrible person over a long enough timeline. And whether or not they were at one point a victim ceases to matter, because then they've become, by the end, a truly disgusting individual who violates all of his own prior morality. This is the problem, right? This is a great comment. Do you think they're misconstruing the actual meaning of forgiveness with a passive kind of hopefulness or wistfulness? The issue is that many Christians, per the Nietzsche quote above, is that they are not forgiving because they are actually forgiving. They are forgiving because they're faggots and they are weak and they have no boundaries and they have no standards, and they forgive because they think not forgiving makes them into a bad person. And there's a really moral smugness to this, and it's a corollary to what Nietzsche's also talked about with slave morality. Forgiveness has been associated with Christianity as slave morality, that you will let someone enslave you and rape your daughters and your wives and kill you without anything, and you just say, "Oh, I'm a good Christian, I'm going to forgive them." And that's not forgiveness in a Christian sense. It's there are so many problems with it beyond what we just talked about. I mean, it ignores righteous. You're supposed to love justice. Righteous anger is not a bad thing. There's plenty of righteous anger at Charlie's funeral, and it was very good and it was very constructive. It's needed. I have a deep thirst for righteousness. I do not want my judge to have a job anymore, and my judge should be in prison. My judge should suffer the consequences of her actions. I do not hate her. Whatever my judge did has turned to good because it has changed me for the better, and she's playing a part in a bigger story. That part is going to ultimately lead to bad consequences for her. I guarantee it. That is not a personal threat to her from me. What that is just an acknowledgement of the immense amounts of karma that she's accrued that she will eventually reap. It's not long in coming, even for these judges who think that they're above it all. So we need to understand what forgiveness really is. Erika is not leading a campaign to release Tyler Robinson or to give him some sort of massive leniency. She is simply saying she refuses to let herself be doubly injured by him of not simply having her husband taken from him, but of having her heart and her spirit destroyed. I forgave those people not so much because I care about them. I do pity them. I pity them because they have really made terrible decisions. They have been on the wrong side of history. All the people who wrong me because of my politics, they are on the wrong side of history. They are going to have a heavy cost to bear. I do not need to add my own resentment on top of it. I don't. I don't. And I believe I have bounced back better than other Jan Sixers. And I bounce back because I'm a fortunate person. I've been privileged in some of the support I've had and the business I've had, okay? So there's material aspects to this too. But emotionally and spiritually, I bounce back very well from this. A lot of them have not because they're still consumed with their hate and resentment for what the government did to them. And it's destroying them. To me, that hate makes them win. But don't get it twisted. I am not here to allow bad faith people to have any power or authority, or frankly, for the ones who have really been bad faith and done things, freedom in this society. I would be very happy to have all these people hang. I would have a relief to see it, but it wouldn't make me. This is a good distinction, so I want to choose my words a little more carefully. It's not really that I would be happy to see them hang. It's that they deserve to hang, and it's necessary for everybody's collective relief. But it's not like this sense of glee, like, yeah, I get to see him suffer. I get to see him. To be honest, I find it a really dirty business. I don't take any pleasure in Jimmy Kimmel. It's not. I don't take pleasure in this stuff. I take relief in it. I take relief to see God's justice, that these people are being removed from their positions of authority. But it's not some sort of personal like arousal that comes from this stuff. I felt zero like when Jimmy Kimmel got fired, I was like, he had it coming. That's what I felt. I felt an ease off my shoulders. So forgiveness is very powerful, but it comes from the person who has moral authority, not the person who is trying to appear morally good, which a lot of the leftist liberal Christians are like. A lot of I guess they're technically conservative too. It's just this feminized Christianity. It's not like that at all. And I understand why people who see that as the example of Christianity will view it as what Christianity is, but it was never like that. And the last thing I'll say on this topic of forgiveness before we start to close up is that it's actually satanic to do this, because when you do not put boundaries, when you try to stop consequences for bad people, you are helping evil. When you roll over and let yourself taken advantage of, you are helping evil. You are a servant of evil. A lot of Christians are the servant of evil inadvertently today. And we talk about the lack of moral courage. You know, Church is not talking about Charlie. That's what we're talking about here. That's the situation. That's the problem. So I hope that clarifies things for people, clarifies my own position. I don't know that most people are capable. It takes a certain level of, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but it takes a certain level of consciousness to properly forgive. But it should not be something that's also super, super easy. I'm sure Erika said that Erika said she forgives him. That is not going to be most likely an instantaneous overnight thing. She's saying it because that's what she wants. And by saying it, it's helping her to go there. But she is going to definitely grapple with resentment, as I have, and I still do at moments, towards many, many people who, you know, were not there for me in the way that I would have liked. So, let me see here. What's this? Oh, this was one thing I wanted to mention about the shooting. I'll just say it real quickly. This whole stuff that, like, Charlie, like, his body, that there was no exit wound because Charlie's, you know, so spiritually powerful. This was a little bit disturbing for me. I'm just making like a quick comment on this. I actually believe this stuff could happen, but to me, this is just another indication that the Trump administration, either that guy is not a good guy, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that they don't want the full information out yet. But they're definitely, you know, Cash is expanding the probe, so we'll see. The last two comments here, and this is, I just want to put this out here. This is a good. Forgiveness is about releasing control the other side has on you. Resentment and hate locks you down, but also fuels the other side. It's what they want. You can still love them and exact justice. This is exactly right. All right. So last couple comments here. This was very interesting. Trump calls out Pam Bondi for no action. Nothing is being done. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice, indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. And then he says later, Pam Bondi's doing a great job. I cut the stuff because it's not relevant. But he's basically saying Pam Bondi started arresting people. Now, just got to say this. What does it mean? Does it mean that Pam is good? Does it mean she's bad? You know, Trump's had some issues over some recent appointments that she's put out there, like in Eastern District of Virginia. People read into these kind of things a lot. I mean, I think no matter which way you look at it, it produces more doubts on, and more. I lean much more with the people who are saying, who have been saying Pam is dragging this stuff. She's not doing a great job, because if Trump was trying to say that it's go time for Pam, well, this doesn't give him then, you know, one of the stuff that Q always talked about is like POTUS is 100% insulated, that people are not going to, you know, associate Trump with the arrests and everything. Well, this is the opposite. This is the opposite of that. So those same people saying that, like, this is like a signal that the storm's, well, it's kind of like counterproductive. You would think that Trump would say, well, I want independent stuff to happen. Now he's telling his attorney general, let's go. To me, this is him giving her one last chance. I don't know if Pam is compromised or controlled in some way, or if she's just dealing with difficult things within the Department of Justice. So we'll see what happens. It tells us, I think, that the inner circle is certainly in one direction, though. Whether it's some sort of strategic decision to do this, to make it public. I mean, I know Trump's not beyond it, but I can't see the angle. If you guys think of the angle, let me know on the next show. We're back on COVID Cabal on Thursday. Okay, next 2 days, we're doing Dynamic Man shows. I'm going to talk about the next 2 client archetypes and the fears that those individuals face. We'll round out that series. And then Thursday, we do COVID Cabal again. And there's no show Friday. I have guest over, so we'll pick up again on Monday. So anyway, guys, I love you all. We'll see what happens, but take care. Have a great night.